everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, as you know, April is World Autism Awareness Month, and last week, which ran from Monday the 26th of March until the 2nd of April, was World Autism Awareness Week. Yeah, that's right, was World Autism Awareness Week. 2nd of April, which was Monday, if that's correct, I think that's right, was World Autism Awareness Day, and the whole of April is World Autism Awareness Month. I think I put that correctly. Now, last Wednesday, on the 28th of March in the UK, Channel 4 put on a documentary entitled Are You Autistic? And in this video, I am going to provide a little review on that programme. These are just my ideas, my thoughts, my personal reflections on what I thought the documentary did well, what I thought the documentary could improve on, and and that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in a sort of sandwich approach, if you like. What it did well, what it could improve on, and finish with a positive statement, because that's the general rule of thumb when you come to reviewing things, so I've been told. Now, first of all, the original title for this programme was actually going to be How Autistic Are You? That was going to be the original title. And quite a number of people, quite rightly, myself included, didn't like this title, mainly in the autistic community, because it implies that it's possible to be just a little bit autistic, when no, it's not. You're either autistic or you're not autistic. Autism is, it's a syndrome, it's a collection of traits that have to occur together in an individual above a certain severity level. And if you don't have all of those traits together, and it's not above that certain severity level where it's actually impacting your life on a day-to-day level, you're not autistic. So no, you can't just be a little bit autistic. So it's really good that they changed the title to Are You Autistic? It's a categorical statement. It's a yes or no, because there's no sitting on a fence. It's not like you can be a little bit autistic. You either are, you aren't. And, if you wanted to do it as sort of like a reverse question, it would be like, are you a little bit non-autistic? It's like, that wouldn't really make sense. You're either non-autistic or you're not, sort of thing, Now, so that's my first positive reflection on it, that it was really good that they changed the title to Are You Autistic? Now, the documentary was co-presented by 23-year-old Georgia Harper and 21-year-old Sam Ahern, both of whom are autistic. They're two young autistic women who were involved in co-presenting the programme, and they are actually on the Youth Council at Ambitious About Autism, which is the second most prominent autism charity in the UK after the National Autistic Society, but it mainly, I think, supports sort of young people aged up to about 25 with autism. And I think that this is a really positive step in the right direction that they were so involved in presenting the programme, because it is common for documentaries about autism to exclude the autistic voice and be solely presented by non-autistics or neurotypicals, who can only offer a second-hand and therefore limited understanding of autism. Chris Packham, the autistic naturalist, had already broken new ground with his Asperger's and Me documentary, which was aired last autumn in the UK. However, this programme was limited because it mainly focused on just one individual. By contrast, Are You Autistic included the voices of at least 4 autistic adults. There were more than 4, in fact, but there were 4 who had the most prominent kind of voice, if you like. The Nothing About Us Without Us slogan, which is like a sort of disability rallying cry, was really felt in this documentary. I also liked the way in which Are You Autistic emphasised that there are many undiagnosed autistics out there. This helps to normalise autism, instead of portraying it as a very rare, almost alien experience. In fact, 700,000 people are now thought to be autistic in the UK. That is a very, even I know, and I'm not good at numbers, but even I know, that is a very, very large number of people in the UK who are, autistic. The film was quick to highlight that autism can contain both skills and disabilities, and I really like this nuanced perspective. It's not a binary one or the other. Autism is multifaceted. It can contain, severe disability, but it can also contain quite a lot of skill as well in certain individuals. Not all individuals, but, you know, it is nuanced. I was particularly moved by the idea that there is a lost generation of autistic adults out there going without the support they need. A lost generation. And until my diagnosis, age 21, this is going back almost 10 years now, I was part of this lost generation. I also highly suspect that my grandmother, who's now deceased, she died a couple of years ago now, in her early 90s, and I really suspect she was a member of this lost generation, but because she was a Holocaust survivor, she survived the Holocaust, that's a long story, I won't go into now, but yeah, she was a Jewish refugee who came over to this country on a Kinderfleet in I think it was 1938, 39, I have to check with my dad. But yeah, she had a very traumatic past and lost most of her family to a concentration camp, so she had that baggage behind her, and I think a lot of her behaviours and idiosyncrasies were put down to that, but actually a lot of her problems went right back to childhood before this really traumatic experience occurred. Like, she really struggled to make friends, as she wrote in her diaries, and was often daydreaming and wanted to be a princess, and she had this imaginative fantasy world, was quite locked in herself. And she really struggled with people and had real anger problems that I don't think could just be put down to her experiences, because her siblings went through the same and they were different in how they dealt with it. And I just highly suspect I might do another video at another time about autism traits in my wider family, but yeah, I highly suspect she probably was on somewhere with autism. But yeah, lost generation, out there, and it's really sad to think there are all these people out there who are going without the support they need. Many of them are now dead, going back in time, think of all these people who would have gone through their lives just not knowing why they didn't fit in and how awful that would have been. The documentary highlighted the often invisible nature of autism. As one of the young women in the programme stated, this is something she's often told. She said, she's often told, "You don't look autistic. I could never guess." Indeed, that is very common. I think I'm not. Has anyone said that to me? I have a feeling someone might have, going back a long time ago now, but it is deeply offensive. And now, as I'm older and I've got more awareness of these things, I will answer back and I will actually tell them, no, I am autistic and it does not have a look like. What do you expect me to be growing a third eye? I don't know. But yeah, it's very offensive to be said for someone to say that, and just just don't say it, basically. She quite rightly said that this implies that autism is something inherently bad. It's really stigmatising. And as she explained, we don't go around with a flashing badge that says, "Autism! I'm autistic, yeah! Look at me! I'm autistic!" Yeah, we don't have a flashing badge that says that. It would be absolutely amazing if we did, but we don't, unfortunately. And I don't know whether I'd like to wear one anyway. I don't think I'd like that. No, I want to be invisible. I don't want people looking at me, forming their judgments. But there is no autism look, okay? As Sam Ahern put it, the presenter, we look and sound like them, neurotypicals. We can look and sound just like them. We just have different needs. That's a really good way of putting it. And a lot, so we can look and sound like them, but, it's what's going on inside. Autism is a processing difference. It's not always apparent to the naked eye, in our behaviours. And autism is not just one single trait, as was emphasised in the programme, but a mix of very different traits and experiences. The documentary emphasised several times the message that having autism does not mean you are like the Rain Man character, in the film Rain Man, I think it's 1988, who can count matchsticks that have fallen onto the floor. I wish. The neurotypical co-presenter, Anna Richardson, said that we are not necessarily into data and figures. It's really good that was flagged up, because that's such a major stereotype out there. I'm absolutely horrendously bad at maths. To the point I have dyscalculus, I'm really, 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 really bad at puzzles, maths, and anything to do with that kind of way of thinking, really. Spatial awareness, you name it, I'm crap. So it was good that was put out there. It's not always the case that autistics are good at those things. Georgia, the presenter, made the excellent point that the idea of a spectrum as a straight line is simplistic and binary. I completely agree. Autism is so much more nuanced than having a so-called high-functioning Sheldon Cooper, as she put it, at one end, to a low-functioning Raymond at the other end. Exactly. Most autistics, in fact, are somewhere in the middle of the scale. We can be quite disabled, but we can also have some abilities. Often those abilities can't be put into practice because of the nature of our disabilities can make that really hard for us. But we're often, really complex people. We're not just it's really complex autism. It's not a binary. The key myths were busted, notably that autism is not an illness and the brain is not damaged, it's just different, which was great. And also Georgia highlighted how difficult it is to get a diagnosis in the UK, with an average of 2 years to get diagnosed after first seeking help, which means must have been quite lucky. It actually took me a year, and that was going back to 2008, 2007. So this fact should help to dismantle the incredibly damaging idea that autism is overdiagnosed. The documentary highlighted, if anything, it's underdiagnosed. And for every potential overdiagnosis, I think that's quite, it's going to be very, very, very negligible in comparison to the numbers out there who go around undiagnosed. Autism is an undiagnosed condition, not an overdiagnosed condition. We need to get the record straight there. It's underdiagnosed. The documentary highlighted the social masking that many autistics use to get by in life. For example, the 35-year-old Jo was shown going to a pottery painting class as she feels is expected of her. That's just like what my grandmother did. She was masking her whole life, as she often went on in her diaries how painful it was because she just didn't understand people, which I think she was probably autistic, and towards the end of life she kept on having breakdowns, and she ended up giving up and just becoming increasingly right, I don't want to see anyone now because I want to get my own life back. She just didn't feel like she was being authentic, and she didn't understand herself, and people thought she was borderline, but I highly suspect she was autistic. And the speed dating experiment showed autistic women fooling neurotypical men into thinking that they were socially competent neurotypicals. Yet this masking comes at a cost, and the women explained the exhaustion they will experience as a result of keeping up this act all day. That was really good they showed that, because often members of the public just do not get masking. The documentary used a real-life example of the sandwich experiment to highlight how difficult it is for autistic people to deal with change. Jo and JP, the two autistic adults, they were later diagnosed with autism later on in the programme, but at that point they didn't know they were autistic and they were being tested, were instructed to make lunch for 5 to 10 customers. They had 10 minutes to make them all, but a surprise change was introduced as 3 of the orders were changed. Both Jo and JP really struggled with this change, and JP could not get everything ready in 10 minutes. Now, I really related to this because I struggle in fast-paced environments and I can be slow to process instructions, and in the past this has got me shouted at. Awful. It really, really knocks your self-esteem down so much. Makes you really distrust people because you get shouted at is really not very nice when you can't help the fact that you process things in a different way, and it makes me feel so angry that people shout at people who can't help themselves. I mean, it's disgusting when you think about it, but obviously I suppose if people aren't aware that the person's autistic, they might be thinking they're lazy or something, but people just need to think twice before they shout at someone who might generally be really finding it difficult, and just because they don't look disabled doesn't mean they're not disabled. There could be a whole way of reasons why someone can't follow instructions and stuff like that. So I thought it was really good this got it out there, particularly to potential employers who might be have members of staff who sometimes can be a bit slow or scatterbrained, if you like, doing these tasks, and just to think twice about it because this person is really can't help the fact they might not be able to do it in that way. And that's one of the reasons actually I can't work, because I can't work in that, I can't deal with that multitasking with other people around me. I'm going to stop this video now and moving on to part 2 because I don't want the video to cut out on me as I carry on my review.